All right, welcome to the Flip Connect Media Cast. My name is Ben Lovro, your host. We are sharing some of the best kept tips and strategies for real estate investors and entrepreneurs from across the globe. Today we have Caleb Luketic, who is based out of Nashville, Tennessee. Not only is he an investor and a wholesaler, but he's also an SEO expert. His digital marketing agency, Steel Marketing, is an offshoot of the marketing he's done specifically for his real estate business. He helps businesses, investors, wholesalers, and realtors in various networks, various business models, in multiple niches. He's generating more leads than ever by getting these people the websites, the ranking that they need, and getting that organic placement within Google. So without further ado, Caleb, welcome on board, bro.
Hey, man. Thank you for just having me on, man. I'm excited just to be here and try to add some knowledge here, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So me and Caleb have been friends for a cool minute now. I think we met up in the Facebook space and been chatting back and forth for a while. And crazy enough, you look at a lot of these random, communities and networks, and he's ranking really solid in multiple markets where he's actually sent some leads that just happen to pop up in South Carolina, right? So he's adding a lot of value. Great, honest, genuine dude. Cannot say enough about this guy's
I really appreciate that, man. Yeah,
man. So tell us a little bit about yourself, man. You recently had a kid.
Yep. So that's been fun. No sleep whatsoever, but it's been fun, man. So that's kind of, the new thing. That's why, man, I love this is I get to kind of work from home and, kind of take a little bit of some time off and just kind of focus, on just really, all of that. So, like I said, it's been exhausting. I'm exhausted, but man, it's fun.
Yeah. I love it, man. So tell us a little bit about the early stages in your journey. Cart before the horse. Did you start out as a real estate investor, as a wholesaler, or was it more marketing agency prior to, and then you kind of fell into that space? What did that look like in the early stages?
Yeah, man. So, really, it was all about the investment side of it, wholesaling. That was kind of what my original intent really was.
Sure.
And so it was a way of, hey, how can I find more actual good, legitimate leads? Because you could do all the mailers, all of this. And I was like, all right, so what can we do to try to shift and change that? So actually, my brother-in-law here out of the Nashville area, he was doing this for probably 3 years or so prior to actually me kind of, helping out, doing some things, until I was like, hey, I think I can do this myself. And not only here, but in multiple other areas. And
Sweet.
So, that was really it, is just, hey, let's try it and see what happens. Obviously, lots of things did not work at all. So, I know what not to really do as far as online stuff. And that's a big part of thing that, everybody just thinks, oh, it's this and that done super, super easy. No, this is definitely one of the most competitive industries online that I've seen. All of the investment wholesaling side of things. So, man, it was honestly just an organic thing that I was, up there, and then some other investors were like, hey, you're up there. Can you help me with this? And so just kind of stumbled into, honestly, a second kind of a company just because of it.
It's awesome.
Just for helping some others out, and was like, hey, what if I tried to help out all of the plumbers, all the roofers, and kind of get out there, and everything works kind of the same. So
That's right. That's awesome, man. Yeah, you got to start out in the early stages and find your niche, right? Find that expert that you're passionate about, that you can wake up every single day in relentless pursuit of that vision, right? When you find that one thing, you focus on it regardless, right? Regardless. And a lot of greats, that's where they start, man. So I love it. So bouncing off of that, talking about laser sharp focus, have you started to niche out a little bit and offer your services for a variety of different clients? I heard you mention plumbers, realtors and stuff, because I know you're specific. You have a lot of expert knowledge within the real estate space. So what does that growth look like, and what does the team look like behind the scenes?
Yes. So, I mean, really, I help right now majorly wholesalers, investors. That's kind of the majority. Probably got, I don't know off the top of my head, about a dozen clients or so just in that field. And I've had lots of others, which I'll get to why in a minute. But essentially, any type of an industry. I mean, really, it doesn't really matter what it is. Like I said, I've got clients that are a roofer, plumber, a church, a steel distributor. Let's see what I mean. So lots and lots of other things so there's really not a limit per se to who I can actually try to help. So
right. I love it, man. So as an entrepreneur, man, I preach on mindset all the time. Explain to the listeners why you believe mindset is so crucial for any entrepreneur that's looking to launch any type of venture.
Man, it is such an important thing. I'll give you an example that literally happened last night. So was chatting to somebody that does tree services, and just on and on and on about why that would never happen. SEO is never going to really work, blah, 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 on and on and on. So a big thing is handling all of that rejection to know, okay, I know what I'm in.
Yep.
I know that I'm really good at this, whether that's investing. How many times have you made an offer and somebody's laughed at it or said, no way, this, that, that's tough, man, to know, well,
right.
I know that I can make that into a rental, do a rehab on whatever that is. And so really you have to, every day you have to say, all right, this is a brand new day. I've got to go at this. I know that I'm good at this. I know that I've learned this. I know that I can make this happen and help somebody, right? And that's a big part of it, is not just necessarily, hey, I can make some extra cash. I can do them, all the money side of it. That's a part of it. Yeah. Okay. But what are you doing to actually help somebody? And if your why is to help other people, then every day you're going to be able to go out there and say, okay, that was super tough, right? I had a bad day, but you know what? Tomorrow is going to be a lot, not easier, but just a lot better. You know what I mean? So that's a big important thing for me, at least, is just to say, all right, every day I know that I'm here to help somebody, whatever that is. So that's the biggest part. And getting there is not the easiest thing. And I'm still not there. I have some bad days where I'm like, man, this is the worst. This is awful, right? I'm sure everyone has it, but this is a big thing. Get people around you that you can talk to.
Yep.
Not just to let it off and just say, hey, I went through this. My day was rough. Can you just hear me out? You know what I mean? So if you have that, it makes it a lot easier, whether it is your mom, a dad, and uncle, whoever that is to you, just chat, right? Say, hey, my day was tough, man. It was terrible. You know what I mean? So
yep.
That's a big important factor.
Yeah, man. I think, a lot of us, we have this rapid expanse of technology, of social media, and we get these hallmark moments. We get these quick glimpses into other people's lives, which causes us to think, my life could be so much more, so much better. Man, why am I not amounting to this when I'm looking at this person's success or this person's family life? And when it comes down to it, man, every single human being is going through a point of suffering in their life, right? It's in our nature. You got ups and downs. You got the voice of good. You got the voice of evil. Two constant voices that you need to choose which one you listen to on a consistent basis, right? And one of the big things about, success and entrepreneurship is developing a strong belief in yourself, right? You touched on that very briefly, but, what are your internal beliefs? And what are you doing intentionally every single day to make sure that you feel your mindset, that you push forward towards your growth, right? That you're learning and utilizing the tools that you need to get ready for that next step, right? Because that's the only way that you're going to reach that next level. For those that much is given, much is expected, right?
Yeah.
It's not that these people, the movers and shakers, have any less problems than you and I. they just ask better questions, and as a result have found better answers, right? So
Yep.
quick encouragement, no matter where you're at, if you're just starting out, for you listeners, I mean, stay consistent. You know, consistency is the key. And just because you're not getting the results that you see someone else that's, you know, posting these massive checks or it's got it all together, man, we're all in this together. And the biggest takeaway from this last year for me was truly realizing that the importance of your network, right? Your network is your net worth, not only financially, but emotionally, spiritually. So learning how you can come together, collaborate, and don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, that's where the growth happens. Yeah. So powerful. So anyways, man, let's dive right into some of the actual strategies with SEO. You know, I know there's basically two fundamental elements. You have on-site SEO and you have off-site SEO. So explain to us, you know, the differences between this, because I'm sure some people aren't quite as aware of that. So what are the importance of this? Yeah,
so I mean, it sounds exactly like what it is. All of the on-site things, all on your actual website. You know, everything off of it means all of the sites pointing back to yours. That, you know, increases all of your trust, authority, all of that into Google, and they're going to see that, and they're going to move you up in all the rankings. But this is the one most important thing that everybody seems to overlook. This is they, you know, overlook their actual site. Like, that's like the number one important thing, that, hey, you have to actually do something with that number one. Like, so that's a lot of thing that I personally see. A lot of clients I have, that they've been with somebody else for you know, SEO for months. Had one guy for 2 years. Wow. Who basically got nothing. And it was all because, guess what they didn't really do? On-site SEO. They didn't touch the website. They were pretty hands off. They just put all the backlinks and all this stuff all over. You know, there's definitely, and like I said earlier, you know, I've definitely learned what not to really do. You know what I mean? I've seen things like, oh, that did not work at all. You know what I mean? So if I had to choose one of those, you know, like, which one's the most important? They go hand in hand so well. But if I had to pick one, on page SEO, like, not even close. Why? Because you have to say, hey, to Google, look, this is who I am, and this is what I want to rank for. Because if you don't do that, they don't know. They just read through all of the code onto your site, and if they don't see what they want to see, they're not going to look at all the pictures. They're not, I mean, they will, but, you know, they're not going to look at it like you and I do, that you can clearly see, okay, you know, I can tell that this site is sort of about selling a house or whatever the case is. If you don't specifically tell them, they're not going to know. Right. So really, one of the biggest ways is all of your H1 tags, H number 2 tags, all the way to H number 6. All of those go together, and that's really what they look at. Kind of number one. They're like us, that like we used to be to college. We're like, hey, I want to read this, but I'm going to read the highlights. I'm not going to read the entire thing. You know, it's the same exact thing. They want to see, okay, what is this site about, without us going through every letter, every single word, all the pages, right? Can we look at this site like this and tell what it is? So you have to help them, right? So that's why it's so important to get that set up. Yep. I love it, man. For those of you that are not as familiar as far as how SEO really works, so you've heard the World Wide Web, right? Going back to the olden days where you still have these box computers, right? But it's still relevant today, right? So the World Wide Web is literally what it sounds like. The web has these things called crawlers, right? They have these crawlers that bounce back and forth from different sites, finding the sites with the most relevancy, where they're ported to. They look at things like domain authority, which could have to do with the age of your website, the age of your domain, and then things like social bookmarks. How many sites are you linked to? And then how many backlinks do you have going back to your site, right? So all this stuff has created a web, and it's bouncing back from different credibility sites that help port them back to your site
telling Google that this site is relevant and this is why, right? So they're looking for your search terms like sell my house fast in this specific city, this network. And then wants to see that that comes up again in text several times, right? And it's extracting that information from like a robot, right? It's literally a bot, artificial intelligence.
Literally, yeah.
And it just shoots it back to all these different links and makes sure that they're relevant as well. And that helps give you credibility. Over time, it boosts your rankings, right?
Yep. That's it, man. That could not have said it any better. That was, that's it.
Powerful stuff, though. And it's very menial work. You know, like it takes a long time, one, to understand the way it works, and two, you got to be consistent. You can't just post a backlink to a few different sites. You know, you got all these different social bookmark sites, but you got to consistently show Google that you're interacting, that you're not just another robot too, but you're
right. You know, and that's exactly why, you know, a little bit earlier, I said, you know, I've had some clients previously, meaning that they saw, you know, they were in it for a month to 2 months, whatever the case is. And they were like, hey, why am I not getting all of the leads? And I was like, well, remember a month ago we chatted and, you know, I gave you an expectation outline of when you might see some of the rankings, you know, well, hey, you know, it takes some extra time, right? You know what I mean? So this is definitely one investment that is time consuming, can be a little bit expensive, not over the top, but so beyond well worth making that happen. Why? Well, pretty much what do you guys all kind of do when you want to find a Mexican restaurant, when you need this or that? We pull out our phones, go to Google and type it in, right? I mean, I'm not the only one. Well, what do you think somebody that needs to sell their house immediately, what do you think they're going to do? Are they going to go through all of the postcards they've been sent? Maybe. Chances are probably not. Here's why. We live in an age where people want to know for themselves and figure it out on their own. They want to go online and say, all right, I picked so-and-so. I looked it up onto my phone, blah, blah, blah. I picked this out. I've read everything. I feel like I know them, so I can trust them because I am making that choice. That's really what all of the consumers looking that up, that's really what they're kind of thinking, whether they realize it or not. And so, you know, why would you not want individuals that are highly motivated to sell and all this stuff that they're going to call you? You're up there, you're just going to, oh, I'm getting a phone call. Let me answer this, you know, and you're like, oh, hey, you want to sell your house? Oh, that's fantastic. Same thing with literally anything else, whether it's, you know, a roofer, whatever the case is, people need what you have. Why not put yourself out there where they're going to look onto Google? You know what I mean? It just makes super logical sense.
It builds credibility. People want to see that you're legitimate. If they can physically see that you have testimonials on your site from real life people, right? I've made a point in videoing just about every closing that we do. Let's get a testimonial, right? Let's get you on there. Tell us about your experience, your service, how that works.
It's huge.
In turn, we can pull that off of YouTube, put it directly on our site where people are seeing that site, right? And they see, okay, these people are actually out there in the trenches. They're making it happen, right? Like it's not.
And that's it, man. I'm so glad you said that because that's a big thing. I tell all of my clients, no matter what the industry, no matter what, take out your iPhone. We all have one of these, right? Why not take it out? Video it, put it out in front of you. Hey, I'm here with John. We just, you know, do 30 seconds. Here's what that really does. Who cares if it doesn't look professional and all of that? It lets people know that you are a real human. They see, oh, this is a phone. I've got a phone that like this dude's a human. He's doing this. I can see like I can see the arm holding out the phone. You know what I mean? Like I see that, right? So that's a big thing that most people overlook, but that's a great thing. It doesn't necessarily help with all of the SEO, all that, but conversions, people getting onto your site and actually picking up the phone to call you, that's what that helps on.
Right. I will say SEO. So first, we'll jump to a question real quick. We got a person that said it's true in many ways, though, but we got to understand a lot of people are older and more old school. This is absolutely true, right? And bouncing off of this, direct mail is an aggressive marketing strategy, right? You're mailing postcards, and depending on what your return rate, whether it be 1 to 3% in various markets, whatever list you're hitting, that's awesome. But in order to be effective, you need to make sure that your lines, your nets are cast amongst multiple different areas, right? You don't fish in the same pond if you're not catching anything. And different seasons, you're going to go through different stuff.
That's it, man.
SEO is such a long-term play. You know, like here in the local market in Columbia, you Google "sell my house fast Columbia," we're going to be ranked #1, right? Our site's going to be landing right there organically, #1 when you search it. Man, I would have told you 6 months ago, after being in the #1 placement for about 6 months, that it wasn't worth it because I wasn't getting a ton of lead flow. I'm like, you know, for the amount of time and resources I invested in it, it didn't seem like it was working. But man, I wrote it out. You know, we kept on pumping it through, and I'll tell you what, we finished last year strong. And the only thing that helped us really finish at that level was these 3 smoking SEO leads that came through, and we made it happen, bro. You know, again,
and that's huge, man. And this is one thing I tell everyone: it takes one deal. It takes one, right? Especially in all of the real estate, you know, side of it. Yes, if you're in something else, you need multiple calls, all of that. But in what you and I do, man, it takes one big one, and it's incredible. I had, you know, a client that it took them 6 months. They didn't have anything, no website, nothing. I took them from basically nothing all the way up there in 6 months. Their first 2 leads were both a rehab, netted over 150 grand.
That's
the first
huge.
2. So, I mean, look, just that alone, and ever since, it's just been going up and up and up. So, like I said, it takes one big one that you're like, man, worth it, completely well worth it.
That's right. One deal will change your life. That's absolutely true. And understanding the difference between inbound and outbound marketing, right? So direct mail is going to be an outbound marketing strategy where you're sending this stuff to these people. 80% of those people don't want to read your junk mail, right? Being quite honest. They rip it up, they throw it in. Same thing with cold calls. You're calling me, you know, we're trying to get a discount on your house. Well, you know, name your price. People feel a little bit invaded. They feel a little bit intimidated. When people are filling out a form on your website, when they're calling your website number, they're coming asking you for answers. They've already expressed motivation. Now they're looking to you for help. Because again, they went to Google, they've established that you are credible, because Google's not going to just put some schmuck on that first page. They're going to make sure that you're consistent and diligent, and that you're able to, in fact, answer the problem at hand, right? And again, it comes down to service. Are you in this business to truly serve people and help them out of these distressed situations? Or are you just in it to make a quick buck? Because if you're in it for the money, you're going to fail every single time. You know?
It's true.
Yeah, man. SEO it's definitely a long-term play, but it's worth it in the end. And it helps build market authority. You know, people you're up there.
It really does, man. You know, and here's one quick you know, example of this is probably the best way to say, okay, why is SEO really important? Well, I'm in here out of the Nashville area. You know, for the past 4 years, you know, a little bit longer, but there's been a big old thing where there's one house, knock it over, put 2 of them up, right? So that's been the big old thing. Well, there's this one house that was there for over for years. That, I mean, this lady would not sell postcards, people knocking at her door. Hey, I will give you this much money right now. You know, all of that for years. But she sold her house to us. Why? She went online, said, you know what? I'm ready. Let me find somebody that I trust to sell my house over to, right? Who do I trust? And because of that, that's exactly what happened. And she was about 65. So I think somebody had said on here that, you know, people are a little bit older, you know, they might not necessarily know. I'll be honest, 70% at least of the individuals giving me a call from online are over the age of 50 to 55. Well over that. Why? Because their kids know how to get them, an iPhone. They've showed them how to use it. They all have some sort of, an iPad, a Kindle Fire, something to look at, all the games on and whatever, you know what I mean? But they know how to use it enough to find you, to pick up the phone and give you a pretty solid lead most of the time there. So,
yep, that's good. Here's another marketing tip, marketing gem, which is a little bit aside from SEO, but I'm going to drop it anyways. So understanding marketing, you want to get inside of your end consumer's mind, right? We want to try to identify exactly what they want, what they need, and be able to deliver it when they need it, right? So if you're doing, say, direct targeting marketing, like Facebook ads, for example, if you can create an ad based exactly upon what that audience needs, say you're hitting a probate list, you can take that probate list, upload it directly into Facebook, and you could directly market to that category for pennies on the dollar, right? Here's another thing. Once you build your SEO, you install a Facebook pixel, which captures their information anytime they visit your site, and you can directly retarget them through Facebook for pennies on the dollar. It's huge,
It's massive, man.
Strategy.
It's a great way.
Figuring out how you can retarget the people that have already been in your funnel, right? And that's another thing I know that you're probably stress a lot, is understanding a sales funnel, right? Because again, we're not just in the real estate business, we're truly in the marketing space. To be successful at this business, you have to become an expert at marketing for motivated sellers. That's it. If you can become great at that, you will be successful in whatever you do. I guarantee it, right? But you got to know marketing, and you got to understand once somebody's in your funnel, what stage they're in and how you can retarget and make sure you capture that lead. Once that lead's there, you got to execute, right? Like Caleb could deliver all he wants. He could get your SEO ranking strong. You got some leads coming through, but if you're not going to be the first one to call that lead when it comes through, then someone else is going to pick up those pieces and they're going to close that deal 10 minutes later, literally.
Yeah. I mean, that is exactly it. I mean, I've done many deals where they've just said, hey, I want to sell it, for this. I'm like, I know the area. Yeah, sure. What's your email? I'll send, boom, there it is. Yep. So, that's exactly why I have this, but I've got a special number that rings in here that whenever I see it, I know it's somebody calling me from that site that I drop, whatever it is I'm in the middle of, and I pick that up because I know that they're online. There's how many other companies right there next to me, under me, that they're going to probably call right after that if I don't pick up, right? So that's a very, that's a huge one, to make sure that you're actively answering all the phones and, everything like that.
Yep. And if you're not, you better have someone in place that can
have somebody too. Exactly right. Yep.
Have a VA or a call system. Caleb, what would you say your superpower is? If you identified one thing, what is your superpower?
I would have to say just the ability to generate all the leads. I mean that's really on to my end of things. I mean, that's the big part. I can close well. I've got some other people around me that they're a lot more experienced in that. So my thing is actually getting somebody to give us a call, send us an email, something like that. That's what I'm super, that's really what that is, man. So
it's awesome. I love it. We had someone ask, can we talk a little bit more about Facebook Pixel? Does it cost more? Is it just a lead data capture device? Facebook Pixel is simply a code that you install in your website or you install in your Facebook ads. So if you're currently marketing through Facebook, anyone that clicks on your link, they capture the pixel from that person, right? Captures like their email, the code, wherever they're operating from. Same deal. If someone visits your website, then it captures their pixel and it loads it into your Facebook. You can directly retarget them for pennies on the dollar. It does not cost more. In fact,
literally, yeah.
Say you're setting up traditional Facebook ads, right? And you're targeting this audience, recently married, recently divorced, visited Zillow, this, and that. You're paying for what Facebook thinks to be an audience that might be interested, that might engage, right? But what you're doing with the Pixel is for the same amount of ad spend, give or take, you're going to directly target the people that have already visited your site and already expressed interest in selling a house. So not only is it like, it's not shotgun marketing, it's more like we've already captured motivation. We're going to dive back in and retarget them so they know who we are, right?
Exactly. So this is actually what mine looked like for the last month. We had 10,000 impressions, 408 clicks, 23 cents a click. 23 cents for somebody that's already been to the website that might be interested in that. They came 408. Now, we haven't gotten all of them back, you know what I mean? But still, that's a lot of individuals that I know have come back to the website to say, all right, I looked at this once, let me read through this again, right? To get me in their head to say, okay, I've seen this guy once, now I've seen him again. All right, maybe I'm not ready to sell. And then when it shows up again, they say, all right, you know what? We do need to sell. I've seen this guy. You know what? Where's the phone at? I'm going to call, right? That's getting in their head constantly. That's exactly why that's a very, very important thing.
Yep. To help explain it better, are you ever browsing Facebook and you feel like someone's reading your mail? Right? You feel like you just talked about these jeans that you saw at Walmart and all of a sudden they're popping up on your Facebook feed.
Or in your mind.
Or your mind. Maybe they are reading your mind. I mean, we're in the age of artificial intelligence.
It's true.
Keep that in mind. But literally, you feel like people are reading your mail on Facebook and you got these advertisements shooting you, some shoes you were shopping last night or this morning. That's the Facebook pixel, right? The website you visited captured your information, and now they're retargeting you through that pixel. Doesn't get much simpler than that, right?
Yep. That's it, man.
Yeah. So hope that clarifies, guys. Tell us some of the mistakes that you made early on, whether that be through SEO or whether that be in your personal investment business that you had to learn and adjust your strategies.
Yeah, man. I mean, definitely without question in the SEO side, I was definitely really super, super fortunate to have people around me in all of the investment side of it that said, hey, don't do this. You need to do this. You need, so I did. So I haven't necessarily made a huge, I've made mistakes in the investment side of things, but not like, crazy like some have. So I'm definitely lucky, but definitely in the SEO side of it, man, one big thing that I thought would help because, was just put all of the backlinks you possibly could, anything you could think of, right? I did that. Gotten many sites kicked out of Google completely because of that, because I didn't know what the correct process was. I was just like, hey, let's just throw things at it and see what kind of happens. So that was definitely, heartache of, I've built this entire site out. I've done all of this and it's completely gone. I can't use it. You know what I mean? So that was definitely hard to like, all right, gotta start over. I know what not to really do here. So let's try this all over again.
Sure. So in the space, for business owners, entrepreneurs, you hear the word pain points a lot, right? We talk about motivated sellers. What's their pain point? What's that leverage? Now, this is going to get super transparent. What's your current pain point in your business? Because every business has a certain season of growth, right? Are you having trouble hiring on and keeping good talent? Because I know when you're handling a lot of volume, eventually you need to figure out how to outsource. What's your biggest pain point?
For me, man, a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, probably, man, if I had to pick, one of them, it would probably be my ability to convey what I'm trying to give somebody, to let them know that I'm actually here to try to help them.
Sure.
Because there's so many other companies out there that are truly in it for the money. That's all they care about. And so for me to come in to try to say, hey, that's not who I am. I promise I'm not. Let me show you, right? So getting over and being trying to convey that in such a way that's not too kind of salesy,
Yep.
but is a, hey, I'm here genuinely to try to help you. And so I guess the biggest one is just making people hear me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's probably on. Every day I just look and say, your website is a mess. I know I can help you. Like, I know I can do this. I can help you. Look at everybody else that I've helped. You know what I mean? So that's definitely the biggest one, is just me saying, oh man, not out of a side of all the money or whatever, that's a part of it, I guess. But really it's, man, your business is, you're probably sitting there saying, man, what can I do to get extra leads coming in? I'm like, I've got the answer. I can help you. Just listen. You know what I mean? That's probably the number one thing for me to kind of handle, is to, all right, not everyone's going to really hear me out,
Right. That's good, man. I like that. That's transparent. Is there a story from your life that resonates with you, that's had a significant impact on where you are at today, whether that be emotionally, physically, business oriented? What's the greatest story that's taught you, had a huge impact?
Man, aside from essentially whatever Jesus he says, we're going to sit that on to the side, all of that, of course. But looking at, this is the one biggest thing that I was actually told. I don't remember who, but I'm sure you guys have seen it a lot. But man, hire slow, fire fast. That has been a great thing for me to learn. No doubt is, and just hearing other people, kind of going through, hey, let me tell you about what happened when I did, all of this. So really just hearing other people's experiences, and saying, okay, I'm learning from this. How can I not do what they just kind of did? You know what I mean? So if I could give one chunk of advice to anybody, it is, find somebody, even if it's in a different industry, find them and just say, hey, can I learn from you? Can I just have some general questions about, hiring, how to set up an office, this, that, whatever the case is. And just hear them out and say, okay, so they went through that. Let me listen and be humble, which is very challenging, and say, okay, let me not think I know everything. Let me learn from them and say, all right, so for me, the people in my life that I've learned from, that's been the biggest influence of where I am. So all of what they've said kind of into one, of what not to really try, what not to really do. That's been the biggest thing that's, helped me.
That's big. Having mentors, having role models. And advice with that too is, you don't just go to a mentor trying to consume as much as you can, right? You need to be a contributor, not just a consumer, right?
Exactly.
How can I help add value to what you're doing, to your network, right? I'm super anxious, super hungry to learn, grow, and implement, but explain to me how, I can bring value to your time, where if you teach me a little bit of your strategies, how we can make that worth it. So Caleb, I want to hear a little bit about, because marketing is constantly changing, right? SEO and algorithms are constantly changing. In fact, if you look at the traditional view of what marketing used to be, it was bait and switch, right? Back when Google AdWords was first coming out, you could just put up an ad, of anything and people click it. There was not a whole lot of competition. People didn't have a whole lot of spaces to go for answers. So it was a little bit more like a blind consumer being led by the blind, right? Where you're being led down a traditional sales funnel. You don't have testimonials or different sources to view their credibility. to where today, 2018, and even more in 2019, it's now, like we said, people can go on Google and they can look for relevance, right? They can Google your name, they can Google your business, whatever they want to find, and they're going to find the most relevant business within a certain space, right? So their ability to do so has dramatically impacted the marketer's ability to convey their message, right? Because again, it's kind of calling out the people that are bluffing, calling them out of the shadows, and it's separating the true people, separating the light from the dark, right? So I think it's absolutely crucial to have full transparency in whatever you're doing in any type of marketing space, because again, people, your reputation will precede you, right? So explain to me how you juggle these constant shifts and changes in algorithms and systems on that type of a scale.
Yeah, so I mean, really, it's all about one, making sure that we've got everything laid on, the foundation to know, okay, we have everyone here, and all right, keeping up with them all. There's a lot of changes, but there's one major thing that is always going to kind of be there. That is a major factor. What do other people say about you, right? That's a big one. You know what I mean? That is, what do others say? How many of reviews do you have? Where do you have them? Do you have them on to the Google Maps? Do you have them on Facebook to wherever else? But just keeping up with them all, man, I'll be honest, it's kind of difficult. Sure. I mean, there's so many that, they change all the time. So really a big kind of a part of it is just keeping at it and saying, okay, when I'm currently kind of working on what has been working, when that begins to not kind of work, it's like, all right, we need to look at this again and say, all right, why is it not really, what's happened here? Why is it not really working? But I can tell you this, just from what I've kind of seen, just from all of the trends from the past 5 years, is that, I mean, really, things are going toward, are you trusted? Do other people trust you? That's where it's all, it used to just be, hey, if you've got all the money and some of the words to say, well, put your ad up here. It doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? But now it's, all right, can we show a consumer that we trust you? So, that's really the biggest thing is letting everybody kind of know that is, hey, this is the one thing that we see everything going up into is, can Google trust you? How do they trust you? What do other people actually say? Do you have testimony videos? Do you have written ones? All of that. So, man, that's kind of the progression of, hey, we'll keep on trying it until it doesn't really work. You know what I mean? But like I said, the one thing, do people trust you?
That's good. People want to do business with people that they like and trust, right? People want to do life with people that they like and trust. They don't want to feel like they've been taken advantage of, and they don't want to open up themselves to that space because it's happened to every single one of us, right? So I think that's super important, man. I'm glad you touched on that. Kind of pushing the needle forward, man. I'm an avid reader. I absolutely love the growth process of reading, because it's a way to almost dive into another person's life, right? And some of your greatest mentors are going to be found inside the pages of those books. So what are a couple of the best books that you've ever read, and what's the number one thing that you've taken out of them?
Yeah, I'm actually looking for a book I have, and the name of it is, oh my gosh, it is, I totally forget, but essentially, it's a book from like the 80s, I think, that it's the not the life of a salesman, but something like that, where essentially, man, in this actual book, it just kind of chats about what it was like. It was kind of set back in the Roman times of them going with all the grain, and all the cows, all of that, and just essentially why are you really trying to do what you are? Are you trying to help some people? Or are you in it for all the money? Because if you're just in it for the money, then you might be successful, not saying that you won't be, but you're going to have more, a lot more enjoyment out of it. Whatever it is that you're actually into, if you're there to help somebody.
That's
Again,
right.
the name, whatever the name of it is, I'm going to look real quick. I don't see it here.
Is it letter of a salesman or something?
Maybe it's like a small little book that's like this.
John Kennedy?
It's about this size. Man, I'm awful with what the name of like all the books are, but I know what they're all about. So I'll have to find it and actually share it out there. But man, that's definitely the big one that it all comes kind of right back into, why are you in this? Are you really doing this to help somebody?
Yep.
Or are you in it just to make some money? You know?
If you're chasing that dollar, your well is going to run dry because it's
true.
Trying to fill a void that you're never going to fill. That hole in your soul is not going to be filled with temporary, impulses. It's not going to be filled with empty relationships, not going to be filled with drugs, alcohol, finances. That void is something I believe can only be filled by the presence of God, right? But going back to that as well, as far as the mindset and the value is, like Tony Robbins says, the secret to living is giving, right? That's the ultimate fulfillment. There's no better feeling than to give something freely to someone else, either in need or someone that's truly going to appreciate that. You're going to feel the absolute best after adding that type of value. And if what you're doing is not bringing that fulfillment in your life, I would encourage you to question if you're in it for the right reasons. Question where you're currently at. Again, if you're in it for the money, then, well, one, it's not for the faint in heart. And 90% of people fail in this business. So just make sure you're in it for the right reasons, for sure. Yeah. What would you say your most valuable piece of advice is for someone who's just starting out in real estate?
Man, just beginning out, I would honestly say is surround yourself with somebody who's actually done a deal, who's actually doing this actively, to learn from them. Not just to say, hey, give me all of your information, but to sit there and say, hey, can I learn from you? Can I help you? Let me run some appointments. Let me do this, and that. I wouldn't say to begin into the SEO side of things. I wouldn't suggest that. That's something that that is down the road. You know what I mean? But
more of an advanced strategy.
Definitely. Sure. Right. But definitely find somebody who's willing to actually take you in. Hey, give them a call and say, hey, can I pay you to try to help me learn? Well, you're offering to pay me. Well, I mean, I guess, so people are going to be much more willing if you're, personally, I'll be really honest. Don't go to one of the gurus charging $20,000, whatever the case is. Don't do that. That's not a good idea. You find somebody where you are willing to invest in you. There are people out there. I promise you, there really, really are.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be the number one thing, is try to learn as much as you possibly can, but also get out there and actually make it happen. Try it. Yeah. Because the only way you're going to really learn things is, oh man, I need to add that clause into my contract because I learned this, right? That's what I did, man. The first house that I ever actually got is, a rental, is that the people would not get out. So now I've got a clause that I hold a percentage of all of the money back, 30%. I think that they don't get that until they're out of the house, right? So those type of things that, you kind of learn, you're like, oh, okay, that's a great idea. I really need that. So
that's good. Or find someone to partner with on a deal. If you're just starting out, there's going to be so many hurdles that you have to cross. If it was me and I could do it all over again, I would have gone to one of the players in the market and I would have said, how can I add value, right? They would have probably put me to work, whether it be bird dogging, finding deals, going on appointments, or if you happen to have a contract, man, JV deals make this business go round. I'll tell you what.
It's true.
It's true.
Very true. Yeah.
You run into situations all the time. There was a contract down in the Low Country, which is not my primary market, that was a little outside of, the main metro area. I was having trouble selling it. I shoot it out to my boy Russ. He locks it up in 48 hours, right? But same deal here in Columbia. Man. Like we do it all the time, man. Don't be ashamed to bring in partners.
Don't be ashamed. Yeah, no, that is exactly. I mean, hey, I found the name of that one of the books, The Greatest Salesman in the World. That is it. It's an older book, 100 or so pages long. Fantastic read.
I love it, man. Well, time is getting short. Is there anything else that we have not yet touched on, Caleb, that you'd want to drop bombs?
Man, there's a lot of other things, but one big thing, again, just to keep in mind when you're looking at doing some of the SEO side of it, really make sure that you get the website completely optimized. That's one thing that people overlook. I cannot say that enough. Make sure that the website is optimized. I'm happy to help. If you guys have any questions, would be happy to try to help. But that is number one, right? Make sure that site is completely optimized, because hey, you might not do anything else and that shoots you up and you're up there, right? Depending on, that's not all over, but in some smaller cities, that might be all that you actually kind of need.
That's it. So for our viewers, tell everyone where you can be found online.
Yeah, you guys can find me at STEEL marketing.org, Steel Marketing. You guys can go check it out. I've got actually a free audit that you guys can check out, what your site kind of is as far as the SEO side of it, and check that all out. You know what I mean? And say, all right, is my SEO kind of good or bad? What's, really there's a lot of other things there. So just go check it out. I've got an email up there. Send me an email, send me a text. Guys, I'm here to try to help you guys. So anything I could try to help with, I am definitely happy to.
I love it, man. I love it. Thank you again for coming on, bro. I really appreciate it, man. Keep on doing your thing. Keep moving, shaking, and changing lives, bro.
Awesome, man.
Cool. Stay easy.